back in the fish room. I'm here to show you how I do maintenance. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, these aren't looking terrible, but I don't want to let them go backwards. This is why I hate wood. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Here's Ladybird. Hey everybody, back in the fish room. We're doing some maintenance today. I want to show you some of the things that I do, whether it's gravel vacuuming, whether it's dosing fertilizers, checking on water, showing, you know, some of the updates on the scapes and how they're doing, you know, kind of running a little brown where the wood is, want to do some extra water changes, and just testing out a new microphone, and the best upgrade of all, wait for it. Look at these rad new Crocs. These are waterproof, and they're like kind of relaxing. They've got a little bit of breathing room on the outside, but this right here is one of my things that stops me from using or being in the fish room as much. The wrong shoes. Do I want to go out there and feed fish, you know, and put my shoes all the way on? Do I just want to throw some slip-ons? If I throw on like normal slippers, then if I stay out here for an hour or two, my feet start hurting, or, you know, they get wet, and then I don't have slippers for inside. So now I've got dedicated go out in the fish room shoes. So we can see here, these guys still doing pretty good. I like the color of this tank, especially between the two brown tanks. You can still see I've got some algae issues going on. See how this tank looks dim? Okay, it's compensating on camera, but you see how the fish right up front here you can't really see too well? The light is on, and it's bright. This is one of the things I don't like about tannins, is that it just doesn't show off the fish as well. Now, in some cases it does. Like, I really like how the buffalo heads and the betta pugnecks are looking in here, but it's not good for photos. If you guys have been watching on Facebook group and on YouTube, I've been trying to work with some photos here. I've got a Canon 90D with a flash, and, you know, I'm gonna try to set up a dedicated photo aquarium, and I'm learning, and that's keeps me in the hobby, learning. So some of the stuff that I got to go through today, some stuff is lifted off. So it's been about 2 weeks. I got a wicked cold after I went and visited April's aquarium. And then my grandma got sick for Thanksgiving and all of that kind of stuff, so that wasn't great. And so some of the stuff, like this dwarf sage, filling in great. Love it, right? But then the plants have gotten disrupted by the Nezzy swordtails here. And so you can see, like, hey, a lot of those plants aren't in the crevices anymore, so I got to get in there and kind of get in there type of thing. Same with that guy right there. Whether it's fish doing it, I'm not sure. You know, that plant kind of got pushed back too far, dead. So gonna work on that kind of stuff today. I want to make sure that we're all getting enough nutrients in here. I can see that one of the fish dug out one of the holes because I was using some rock wool to keep these in between the rocks and the sticks. They dug it out, so I'm going to siphon that out today. See a couple more tufts of it there and there. And in general, just kind of get the overall, how are we converting, you know, these crypts still converting. Here you can see one of the pinnatophyta leaves has come off. And there's always stuff at the top of the tanks. So that crypt needs to be replanted, and just, you know, looking through and just seeing, you know, this one had spiderwood, so lots of tannins. And I think not enough people, like, this is why I hate wood, but it looks cool. But I don't think enough people understand that this is the trade-off. And so you can see some anubias leaves or roots down there. You can see some of maybe rotted, maybe damaged them while planting, that kind of stuff. So we'll clean that up, and we'll get some water changes. And then you go to, like, oh, there's no wood in here. Boom! Bright, vibrant. It's that apparent. Now, it's not like I don't change water. These are on auto water change. I'm changing some water twice a week. So it's not like I'm completely neglecting them or anything. It's just that's the way it goes. So these guys have got the blue velvet shrimp and these best in the world guppies that I love. And I'm trying to make sure we get enough food for these pygmy chainsaurs. You can see we put in new substrate, so they're struggling. They went from big Murphy poops to little baby guppy poops, and we want to see that, you know, we want to see that improved. So we'll test the water. We might have to dose some more, might need some more root tabs. Over here, again, Brown City, but they love climbing on it. You can see even this little baby turtle's getting some algae on his shell. The big problem I have with this tank that I might need to fix is the flow. I don't like the flow that's missing. So I've got this little like waterfall-y thing happening, but it's real stagnant the rest of the aquarium. So not sure if I need to remove some of the wood, change it a little bit. Not sure what. I mean, it's operating fine. So I feel like, man, that's a lot of dead waste over here. Vallisneria, crushing it in this tank. Still haven't caught that guy. He's so fast, that trout goodiad. You can see it's coming around the rock, so we put the rock barrier in, right? That's to stop the val. Well, at each corner, bloop and bloop. Same with over here, bloop, bloop, bloop. So I need to get in there and trim those back. I'm still waiting on more conversion. And you can see it right here. You see that like crinkly leaf? That's how it's gonna look in my aquarium. Same with these ones right here. These big grown out of water leaves, see how they're kind of dying back there? That's what it's supposed to do. And a lot of people will ask, should I cut this? Should I remove it? I don't. In my opinion, what I've seen, if you leave that leaf in there as it's dying back, it helps feed the new growth. There's people that say it doesn't. I've tried both ways, and I don't see a benefit to getting in there and cutting them out. You also have the chance of doing some damage, but I just let snails and you know, shrimp like this chew on them if they want to. So yeah, we're waiting on fish to grow up. We're waiting on crypts to fill in. This tank turning cloudy, super cloudy. The only difference is that substrate. We used to have one, if you guys remember, there was one down there. That one with the new substrate, crystal clear. And it's so weird. I never had this problem at my old house. Never have the problem at the store. But at, you know, I don't know if it's like something in my water reacting with this specific gravel or not. I'm not sure. There's a little bit to do there. Again, anubias. Oh, leaves have fallen off. Some have floated up. You know, you kind of get that sometimes when you poke stuff in and a pleco dislodges it. There's a pleco right there. So we'll be doing that kind of stuff. You see there's a billion shrimp up there. Maybe you can't. Let me enhance. Yeah, the shrimp's doing works. So that's good. And then over here, this one's just kind of chilling, you know. Got the red platies, hoping to see some new babies. That's what we're starting to see in some of the tanks. You really got to sit and watch for a long time to see the babies. But, you know, like you can see right here, there's a baby swimming out front, or coming to the front. And so right now, if I was really looking for babies, they're all going to be in this stuff that's floated up. You know, like that rhizome right there. Like take that, put that away. Then you'll see them a lot more. Yeah, you see, there he goes. Yeah. Let's move on to the biggest disappointment. These guys. Still haven't colored up. Pretty irritated with Rare Fish USA. You know, I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to like, look, I realize it's not going to be the best photo with Photoshop and stuff you've ever seen, but at the same time, how about any of the color it might have shown, like at least a little speck of it? Especially when you label them as rare, last ones, they're $450 of shipping, but I digress. Either way, we'll get in here, we're gonna do some valve cleanup. You can see it's starting to poke its way out. It's like, hey look, I found a way out. And same with the back there. I might let that back one do the move, but these two little ones up here, bloop and bloop. I think I'm gonna dose meds in this one finally. They're stable. This guy still won't eat. That came in with them, so they'll be getting paracleanse. All right, I'm gonna start working because I want to install this big power head thing too. So I just gotta get started because it's a couple hours worth of work. Oh yeah, an update. So the company that made the previous aquarium that was absolutely terrible, where it just leaked all over the place and all the seams were sharp and the glue was terrible and all that kind of stuff. The Chinese company, they were like, oh yeah, you want one that holds water? Oh, well, we didn't build one that holds water, so they only sent one. And you know, shipping these from China to here is $400 per sample, so that's not great. But so far, holding water. We got about an inch of water in it. Tomorrow I'm probably gonna fill it up a lot more. I need to get a bulkhead to make sure I can go all the way. But now this quality, great. That you can see the seams are really nice. You can see on both sides there. Really nice seams and everything. They got the curved corner just right, no sharp edges. They did a good job. And that's what we were expecting the first time. And that's a lot of times what we face when you're working with a manufacturer. What you want and what they are thinking are two different things. You would think, you make aquariums. Of course I want it to hold water. But they, maybe they don't know that. It's a weird thing. So I'm going to get started on tank 1 here. I'm here to show you how I do maintenance. So when it comes to this Vesuvius, that's this plant in the back here. Why we don't sell it is when we sell it, you get all these spear-shaped leaves. You see that, like that kind of yellowy brown one and that green one? The plant looks absolutely nothing like what it should. Now, what does it grow into? You see all the curlicue leaves? Let me see if I can get a better... You see how it starts curlicuing everywhere? That's what it does, and it's actually a type of sword plant, and it spreads. So, this is one that we need to replant here. You can see the curlicue leaves, kind of cool, bring some texture and all that. But all of the straight leaves, people just lose their minds. You sent me the wrong plant, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. And so, that's why we don't sell it. It's also a little bit hard to get a hold of, but Vesuvius is what it's called. And I'm just gonna jam this somewhere, like it's looking like maybe right there. But we're gonna get into the crevice there, give this guy a home again. Right like this. Get in there between the rocks. Try to lift it. There we go. Oh, stay in there. All right. So that would be, now this tank, nothing floating. Well, there's a couple little leaves that have pulled off, so I'll get those. The algae we killed with hydrogen peroxide worked really well, actually. So all the tufts of algae you saw everywhere in a previous video, maybe the editor can splice some of that in. We also put shrimp in. They're eating on it. And then we did get some damage on this tiger lotus. It is a finer leaf plant, and it did not like the hydrogen peroxide as much. So we did take some damage there. But, we've got new leaves up at the top. That's what it's doing. And so it's pushing forward. We're fine with that. And, I think another, month or two, this is going to really fill in. The Vesuvius over here really is going to look cool. I realize it looks like a hodgepodge right now, but going forward it will look cool. So I'm gonna get the front of this glass cleaned with a little scrubby. I go back and forth between razor blades and the scrubby, and I did 6 or 7 tanks last time I did maintenance, and it took me like an hour and a half. And then I swapped to the scrubby, and it took me to finish the last 6 tanks was about 11 minutes. So even though these are a consumable and I can use a razor blade a ton, I really love how fast these work. And they're a little bit abrasive, but if they work on acrylic and freshwater, or acrylic and glass, sorry. And they just move so much faster. That's my key, is that you're not having to go back and forth and go, did I miss, a part with the razor blade? You also don't cut yourself. You don't have to worry about scratching the glass. You don't have to worry about cutting the silicone, which I had an employee at one point using razor blades, and they scratched my glass, so that made me sad. But I'm not going to swap them out because it's not that noticeable. I'm running my water pretty cool in here. This is a Goodyear tank, so they like to run cool. So real easy. There wasn't a lot of algae in there on this one at all. This one's getting pretty dialed in, if you can believe it. This was the worst one. Now we're getting a little bit dialed in. So now, got to grab the Aquariumcoop towel. It's the only one that can dry your hands. I got to dry my hands, and I got to open up the test strips. If you get water in the test strips, they just go bad. So you really got to dry your hands. I mean, yeah, you can use your pants, but what happens is your pants start getting really wet, right? And then by the time you're on tank 4, you're not really drying them much anymore. So I like to use towels, and I've got a bunch of them. I don't just run one towel, I swap it out. And it also allows me, when you're doing the front of the glass, which I wouldn't be doing yet normally, but I've got water spots. If it's wet, it'll just leave more water spots. So I'm doing a lot of towel swapping and getting water spots off there, and then cleaning the front. And then you just do a load of towels like every month. So actually my hand's almost dry enough now that we've been talking here. The run and gun style. I just don't want to taint these. Eventually, I don't know if our batch is out there yet, but I think this was one of our test batches. You see the hardness goes up to 1,000. slightly different colors there because we were only going to like 300, I think. And it was giving off, people with really hard water would get this color and they wouldn't know what it meant, but it basically means you have really hard water. So I think now we go up to maybe it's 425, and then after this will just be above that. So I don't know when that's coming. It won't make any difference to you because now that you know that thing, if it's a different color, like it's just above the threshold. And whether you have 1,000, 800, 622, doesn't matter. You basically just know, oh, I got hard water. So now, dip this bad boy in, let it sit for about a minute. I'm going to talk about these a little bit. They get a lot of hate and a lot of praise. So a lot of people will say test strips don't work. And I will be the first to admit, most test strips suck. I really like the Tetra ones. I think that's the only one I actually like. So I used to sell those and use those exclusively for about 10 years. Then they told me I wasn't allowed to sell them online or anything. And I watched so many people buy like the Mardell, the API ones, and in my experience, those don't, it's not that they don't work, they are not accurate. Where I've tested mine, and mine are accurate to lab grade solutions. So if we take a trip, and I've shown this in videos and on forums and stuff, we'll go look at my messy pile of stuff over here. But when we were developing these, I had to buy things like this, where it's like, oh, wasn't that like $200? This is a 7.2 pH solution, so it'll match 1-to-1. You see it's expired now. But it'll match 1-to-1 on the test strips. And then, I know I've got other ones up here. Let's see, oh, right here, here's some. So then here is 150 part per million. What ones are these? These ones are nitrate. Yep, nitrate. And then I think I have hardness up here as well, and there's other ones that got used up fully. What's this one here? Calcium, yeah, hardness, basically. So yeah, we do lots of testing, we buy the kits, we spend that big money, and I'm not gonna tell you that API, like master test kits, aren't accurate, because I haven't done the testing on that to know. All right, now we can it's been more than a minute, but we can see here. pH is fine. I kind of don't care about it. I have hard water, but let me just lay this on here. So if we take a look, get some decent light here. pH is 7s. Buffer, good enough. Hardness, that's 1,000. I got lots of hardness. The only one I really care about is the nitrate. Nitrate is 20. Let's see here. What was that one? Is that 50? It's about 50. So I don't need to dose that much Easy Green. Now I will, because I'd rather have a little bit more than a little bit less, but I'm only just gonna give a couple little 4 squirts, boom, done. And what I'm gonna show you is, there's some tanks that are gonna just consume it, right? And you might watch me like, you just put in 20 doses. Like, yeah, it's, this tank, because the crypts are very slow growers and are eating from the gravel, and then these guys are still converting and they're not ripping and roaring yet, they're gonna use food not nearly as fast. So I'm gonna grab the couple of leaves that are up there and we're gonna move on to the next tank. So now we're on to the dwarf sage and the Nubius tank. Now I already dipped the test strip. My guess is we're gonna come back low on nitrogen. How would you know, Cory? The plants are telling me. You see the yellow parts? It's usually nitrogen deficiency. And yeah, fish are eating on them, snails are eating on them, because they're not getting enough food. And you can see, that thing's consuming itself. So with all the dwarf sage in there, and then all those Anubias that were hungry, this tank, I believe, is gonna show us that we're light on nitrates. And so, let me talk about Easy Green a little bit. When you dose Easy Green, 1 pump adds about 3 parts per million nitrate for 10 gallons. So if I just put 4 pumps in here, and right now, if we're looking at and we're going, all right, let's see here, we're sitting at like 10, right? And if my aquarium, let's say it uses 10 in 5 days, so there's gonna be 2 days it'll just be starving. And if I miss a day or miss a week, that's gonna be really bad. So if I just dose 1 pump per 10 gallons in here, and I test it again, it's only supposed to read 13. Well, most test kits are not that accurate. So I would need to go to 25 to actually be able to measure it. And so that's where when it says, you know, 1 to 3 times weekly, as much as needed, that's this scenario of, well, how much is needed in here? And I like to run, in a perfect world, I like my tanks to be between 25 and 50. And there's people that would say, oh God, you're crazy. You're crazy, Cory. I want my plants to thrive. I don't want it to be like, well, grandma got sick, my plants died. That's not what I want. I don't want to see more yellowing. I want to see more green, luscious growth. And so when we know that one pump adds 3 parts per million, this is a 40-gallon tank, right? But we're going to do it based on 10 gallons. So if I want to add, let's say I want to get to 25, well, that's 15. That would be 5 pumps. Now, for 10 gallons, to go from 10 to 25 is 5 pumps. Well, we got a 40-gallon, right? That means it's 4x. So I got to do 20 pumps. And they're going, that's crazy talk, Cory. Yeah, I want to get to the 25. Now, what am I also going to do? I'm going to feed this tank heavy. Because I want to feed it heavy. I want to get a lot of babies. But I also want to, in a perfect world, I want to be able to lighten up a little bit on the fertilizer and rely a little bit more on fish food. Now that doesn't always work. Like this tank doesn't have very many fish. You can't run that game. But in this tank with a live bear, and you can see they're kicking out babies. Over time, this thing will probably reach a fairly good equilibrium where I am just dosing once a week at the one squirt per 10 gallons per week. So in here, what I would do, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 1 for good measure. And you can kind of see that in here. It's starting to dissipate a little bit because there's salts in there, so it looks a little different. Kind of like if you've ever been at a gas station or something, you see the road gets hot, you see the kind of the wavy lines. That's kind of what goes on in your aquarium. Now, all of that fertilizer is right here right now, and that's why we want good flow so that it'll eventually hit everything. So now what I got to do is pull any dead leaves, do the front glass, and replant. So that's what I'm going to work on real quick, and we'll move on. All right, now with this tank, what I want to show you is I just did a test strip. You can see here we have just a little bit of nitrogen in there. Kind of the same as the other ones. A little bit higher, maybe it's a 25. But we're going to take water out. And so that's another reason, like for tannins, we might dose more easy green back in because we're taking a bunch of water out. So in this case, that's what we'll be doing here. I do have a little drain right down here. All my tanks, basically every 8 feet, I have a drain, so I will siphon into that and get all this, ooh, look, little babies. Get all this gunk out of here, and you know, we'll get that one, looks like maybe one anubias got to be replanted, and a couple leaves out of there, and mostly, maybe I'll push that plant back in right there, because someone likes that as a cave back there, but I'd like that plant to be back in there, actually. So I'm going to gravel vac. If you've never watched my video on how to gravel vac, I highly recommend it. It kind of went viral. To get that in the pipe there. Start my water change. Now I'm not, as you see, I want waste in here. I'm not looking to get a bunch of nitrogen out. I just want it to look good. So I'm not really, you know, trying to do a big water change or anything. I'm just trying to get some of that extra little gunk that we don't necessarily want in there out. See if I can suck up any leaves or anything that is kind of not doing what we want to do. There we go. Now for me, I'm sucking up all this little gunk and stuff, but it doesn't go down to a normal drain pipe. It goes outside. So I'm not in danger of like clogging up my drainage. There's another little one that didn't do so good. Get you out of there. Get you out. I do kind of want to do a big water change for the tannins, so maybe I'll let that just keep going here while I work on the other things. How are you doing? That leaf. Sometimes you damage the plants when you plant them, which maybe I'll grab the camera for that. So this plant I damaged by squeezing it into the wood. Kind of got too tight. You see some of the leaves want to let go. So I'm going to keep it there and hopefully it'll start growing. I might lose it, but I wanted it to grow in the wood, and that's not what it wants to do. I'll push this guy back to go back to your home. You're too good for your home. Right there. And then just take stuff out. Can always float it in another aquarium and work on it later. Yeah, but I'm going to keep draining probably at least 50% or so, I think, to just lower the tannin load in here, make it better for pictures and stuff. So got to get it out somehow, the wood. So this tank itself here, I'm actually not going to test water till I change water, because I want to get some of the tannins out. Now I am still removing water over here, and I'll stop it soon. But you see this bulkhead right here, this black thing that I've drilled in for an overflow. I can actually use that to my advantage. All I have to do, if I just want to change water and not gravel vac, I can just spin this down. And now it's going to drain this bad boy pretty quickly. And so there's a little bit of algae growing in here, which hopefully the fish are going to take care of long term. We're not getting good spreading on the dwarf sad yet, but all these plants up top are blocking a lot of the light. A lot of people run floaters and they wonder why their plants aren't growing so well underneath. The floaters are eating all the food and blocking all the light. So, just kind of know that. While we're waiting on all of that, because I'm going to start refilling this. And this is, how I do my aquariums. I get a bunch of them kind of all in motion. And I still got to do the front glass on that one. But we know we got to replant this little guy right up here. This little crypt. Come on, you come live down here. Let that snail get you out of there again, probably. So you can live there. Here's a little pinnatifida baby. This is a plant that we don't sell again because a lot of people struggle. I'm just going to take that out because it's too hard to plant. And then we've got this little piece right here, which is actually, there's a leaf here. Take that leaf out. That leaf won't do anything for us. But this piece could be jammed somewhere. And this kind of likes to grow on wood and stuff, or stuff you can grab onto, kind of like this dragon stone we've got in here. I might just put this in another aquarium too and grow another piece. And what I do, if we go over here real quick, we've got the mad scientist stuff that'll get torn down eventually, lots of algae and stuff. But like a tank like this is a bunch of vallisneria, and you can see if you just let it float, it starts growing a lot of roots. And so I could just float this right here and come grab it when I want to plant it somewhere. And so it's nice to have an extra tank, just like, I know what, I'm going to let it sit over there for when I've got another idea. And so, all right, this one is basically done draining. Get that coming out. So nubias are good out of water for a little while, so that's nice. Now I'm going to put this down and get this starting to refill. So here's my system for refilling one tank at a time. I've got the python running all the way back here into a bucket. And I have a power head on the end of it. The same power head I've had for like 10 years. Just like, I think it's an old Cobalt one. Yeah, it's a little bit rusty and stuff, but it's fine. And my water doesn't flow quite as fast, so I have to let it get a head start. But then I just plug this thing in. We're going to pump the water to this aquarium. And then I'll be able to just move it to the next one when that one starts kind of overflowing. And so this one did its 20-30% water change. I just got to do the fronts of these two, and I can move on to the next one. And that's kind of the rhythm I keep going until I catch up. These aren't looking terrible, but I don't want to let them go backwards. And I know that I have Dean coming over tomorrow to work on some new projects. And so if you're going to work on new projects, I want to make sure the projects I've already done are still looking halfway decent. All right, so I've got the water flowing in. Really having trouble with that sink. I'm going to put it in the new sink tomorrow. I may just have to use the auto water change system, which is going to change fertilizer out of these two. So I'm not necessarily dosing fertilizer in these tanks yet. But what I love about the multi-test strips I'm testing here, this tank's got no nitrogen left. It's basically zero. This tank's super thirsty for easy green. All the African fern, which feeds in the water column, soaking it up. That's why I'm getting all the extra algae, because it doesn't have enough nutrients. This tank over here, we're at about 10 parts per million nitrate. So it could use a little bit more, maybe it's like 5. And as these keep growing, these stem plants will suck it up faster and faster. So then we go to this tank, barely any for this Anubias either. So a lot of tannins in here, but I'm probably gonna get the water draining out of here, do a little bit of maintenance, do the front, and then I'll probably dose the Easy Green again back in these. So I probably won't test necessarily these ones. I'm just gonna do the maintenance, and then I'll show you that step. And sometimes, you know, you just got to figure out on the fly. I never had to do that with the tannin tanks, or before, because I didn't have tannin tanks. But now I'm like, well, 4 of the 12 really need big water changes. And, well, I guess I just need a working sink, a faucet. That's the problem. So right now it's pumping in full cold water, which is unfortunate. And let's say I want to switch to the hot. Like now it'll only do full hot once it warms up. But then if I want to try to do like some cold as well, like it just gets, it's only hot. See, like the cold never turned on. So then I gotta like, okay, go back and fight with this thing. Like now it doesn't want to go off. See, then you get the cold going again. And then now I can try to get some hot, but it only will do one or the other. Whereas this gadget will put in 76-degree water, perfect every time, all the time, with the click of a button. So I will probably do that once this one catches up a little bit more, so I'm not extra water changing everything for no reason. So yeah, I'm gonna set the camera down and get to that part. All right, so now I've got water flowing to all of them. You can see there it's hitting a rock and making a kind of a mess. I'm gonna close this. But yeah, I will have to, oh, I missed a leaf. I will have to redose and remeasure, and that's why, you know, I like the test strips, because you just wouldn't. And what I mean by that is, if I had to do liquid kits, I just wouldn't test this often. I'm just too lazy. I don't have that kind of time. It took me hours. And so the other thing I want to stress is every tank is different. So even if you might be, maybe you're using Easy Green, you're like, I dosed all the tanks every Saturday. That's not good enough, because different plants consume at different rates. Different amounts of plant consumes at different rates. Different types of plants need different types of food, whether, you know, it needs substrate food like root tabs versus water column food. And so I think it's, you know, people love to get into routine of like, yeah, I do my water changes and my dosing and my stuff. I do that every Sunday or Wednesday or whatever it is. But I don't think you get to where you want to go as easily. Not that it doesn't work, because I do think it can work. But if I want to look, I make the plants grow to that look, where on the other system where you only put in X amount of fertilizer once a week, the plants have to grow to the fertilizer. Does that make sense? And so, you know, this tank's just going to consume more. Well, that tank will consume none, but then this tank's a very slow. So almost, you know, very little Easy Green goes in here, because there's only Java from the back, and those guys eat root tabs, whereas these guys would use more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep working on this quickly, so that I can take you guys. I really want to install a piece of equipment that I bought for $400 right there, but I like to save that as my reward, because if I just go do that now, then I'm not motivated to finish. So if I finish all the tanks, then I'll be motivated to go, ooh, let's go play with the new toy and see if it does what I think it wants to do. And I think you guys will enjoy that too. So I'm just gonna hammer down and get this done. Got some fish room, or keeping fish simple, playing in the fish room while I've been doing my work. I'm gonna pause that obviously so you guys can, you know, hear me better, but hey, pause. There we go. Back to what we're doing. So I finished up, there's still a little bit more water to go in, but I finished up doing all the tank fronts, removing, you know, the sneaky valve around the rocks there in the 125. And for the most part, just gotten a lot done. Still got to do some cleanup over by the sink there. Still got siphons out. You guys saw me unbox this at some point, and I guess I just want to chime in on a little bit. It's been like 3 weeks or a month. A lot of times I'm buying stuff way in advance, just to know, like, okay, when I'm ready for this, I'm going to work on it. and today's that day. I will say, pretty disappointing that this went on mega sale from Bulk Resupply. So this thing was $400, $399.99. I bought it from Bulk Resupply, and that was like November 6th. Well, on Black Friday or whatever, or I guess it was on Thanksgiving, they did 30% off. So that saved like $130. But they don't offer any money back or returning. Like, you know, they're playing that game. And then the next day it was 20% off instead of 30% off. And so I just want to chime in. That's why we don't do this anymore. We used to play that game back at the beginning because we didn't know any better. We thought, yeah, you have to kind of put stuff on sale and do this and that. And I'm convinced all it does is teach people to not buy from your brand and be afraid that you're going to get screwed. And so, you know, if I want another one of these for maybe the 1,500 gallon, I'm like, yeah, but I already know the real price is like $260, not $400. And so that just, it leaves you with that feels bad, man, mentality of like, wow, that just feels not good. And so we try to limit that as much as we can. Like, that's why we don't do sales. We just try to keep the price at what the price needs to be. Not, well, did you buy it on the right day? Because it's only that price on leap years, you know. So this is kind of a little advanced system, takes some setup. It's got some new pieces. I used one of these probably like 4-ish years ago, and these things didn't exist, these extra little flow things. And let me tell you what this does before I go and try and set it up. So this is basically look at this. That's not a great job there. This is basically a giant, I'm going to call it wave maker, power head. It moves an insane amount of water, but not so much in a lot of water, but not in a little direct flow. And so my hope, this is not rated for 1-inch thick acrylic, but I've run one in the past. So I hope they didn't make the magnets smaller. That's my hope. And I'm going to show you what it does, but we're going to massively change the flow in the 800 gallon aquarium, which I think is going to really help with algae and things. And I really liked it. And the reason I got this one is my biggest gripe with the one in the past was it didn't have any Wi-Fi control or apps. And so it was really difficult to dial in. And it has all the features. You can mimic the ocean. You can mimic tides. You can have feeding modes. You can have it be full blast during the day for 2 hours, then go to 60%, and then be at 10% at night. All the gadgets and widgets. I typically, on the old one, just let it be like, yeah, let it run at like 30%. How many gallons per hour does it say it does? I want to say it's like 4,000 or something, but I'm not seeing that on any of the box. So it's the biggest one they made, and technically this controller can run 2 of them, but maybe something on the 1,500 gallon would need 2, but the 800 gallon one at like 50% was already like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So I'm going to try and get this thing set up while it's dry, and then we're going to try plugging it in and see if it's a tornado or not. And you can come along for the ride and see if it's super gratifying or not. Or it's a waste of $400 and we're sad. We'll see. Here's Ladybird. Yeah, you're pretty good at scratching up my tank, aren't you, Ladybird? Good news is they're not very deep, and so you can buff them out at some point. But what I wanted to point out was algae is doing so much better in here. Yeah, there's blackbeard algae, but most of the algae down low is gone. The trout goodeids have helped. Mana removal helped. And just in general, no algae on the glass either. So, got the outer doser, dosing easy green, that's helping. And we installed this baby little water movement thing, which maybe that helped. But I want to kind of start with the AB. See how basically no plants are moving at all? This tank's probably going to look absolutely terrible if when this thing kicks on, which we haven't set it up yet. I got it, kind of chilling right here. But it's going to be a thing to finagle. We're going to get that one out and get the other one in, and then we're gonna see what this thing can do. Well, that's stuff that we see every day. I was thinking, like, man, the top of the water is pretty still. And then I saw the sponge filter actually clogged. So all the extra poop from the fish have eaten the algae, clogged up my sponge. Hopefully, the filter's still okay. It's a real bear to get back into here. Wow, it is sucked on there. Yep, and instantly water is flowing again. Just want to get this out of there so we don't suck up any fish. There we go. Get in there. There we go. Good. So now we're going to clean this thing, and I'll take you with me on a journey. So a lot of times when this happens, it kind of ruins the memory of the sponge. Now what does that mean? It means it's really hard when you get it clean for it to be not kind of sucked in sometimes. So we're going to move this. And so you can see the sponge here, which these are designed not to do this, but I can feel this is an insane amount. And then also 800 gallon aquarium with 2 filters is what do I want to say? A small amount. So it takes a little bit to even get it kind of going, and maybe we'll do it in a bucket here so you can see. Making the chocolate milk. And it's still just caked. So that's normally why I have this sprayer, which it's a 2-hand job. So I'm probably going to switch to that here in a second. But the biggest problem I run into with sponge pre-filters is actually algae growing on them and clogging up the pores. Because the pores are dense enough. It helps it catch finer material. And this is why people go, well, I like a finer sponge that catches everything. Yeah, but I want, like, this is only 2 or 3 weeks worth of crud. Now I'm going to go clean the other one. So this is always a sign. If you've got one clogging up and you've got more in your tanks, go clean them all. So I've got the other one on the other side I'm going to clean up as well. See how it's starting to get its shape back, but it's still a little bit sucked in? Sometimes that doesn't come back if it gets sucked in and held that way for, it could have been days. I'm not sure how long it's been. So I'm going to get the sprayer and really go at this thing. So you can see that if you clean one side for a long time, it just makes all the gunk run to the other side, and then it's super dirty. So you got to really kind of keep going back and forth on these things to get them clean. When they clog like this, it's like a 5-minute job. Not just, oh yeah, it's good enough. It's some work. It's looking pretty good, honestly. Ah, you can see some right here. I missed some. The better job you do now, the less often you got to clean it. And even if you have chlorine in your water, which I don't mind doing this. Yes, it grows bacteria, but I'm mostly using it as a pre-filter. Examine it again. Looking pretty good. It's in pretty good shape. So just a little bit of algae. Back we go to install this bad boy. You can see just by dislodging that let some more crap come out of the canister. And so already, oh man, that looks dirty. So it's gonna be, we'll turn some extra water changes on and stuff. Do kind of a weird move to get that back on there. You can still see how much, like, that's how much is still in there. We could have cleaned it for a lot longer, but this will go a long time without needing cleaning again. It'll catch all of that up. You can see the little bit of algae on the end there that helps. And I'm gonna put that back down. It's kind of like here in the water. There we go. So now, in theory, see if any of the plants are moving. Not really. So, oh, a little bit. You get that little bit of movement right there. You can see the particles in the water getting pushed around. And this one will be cleaned next. It kind of sags a little bit so you can tell it's heavy. It's not sucking in, it's just going, ooh. So it's filled with ladybird poop and algae poop. Isn't that right, ladybird? Yeah. You want food, huh? Alright, we're going to try to get the the new whiz bang water mover setup, and then we'll hop over to the other side with the ladder and clean that side. We are ready. We've got 2 jets angled down, 2 angled kind of up. We'll plug it in and see if I can just like press a button and have it do its thing. Powering on. So it's at 50%. Get that going, I guess. All right, doing 50. What are we starting to see here? Plants are definitely moving quite a bit now. The fish are going, oh my gosh, there's a current. All right. And I'm always the person like, what does 100 look like? This is half speed. You can see it's kicking up some stuff on the top. And really what I like to do with something like this is have it kick on, you know, once a day or once a week for like 10 minutes and really like whoosh, clean all the bottom, because I can't even reach the bottom. It's 40 inches. My arm's not that long. And a siphon's really hard. So if I can get it to just bring up all the gunk and get them to these sponges and I stay on top of the sponges, well now we're doing something good. So let's see, can I amp it up? Oh, that's not doing anything yet. What does this do? That's a feed mode, a quick set. Nope. No. I think I just turned it off. Okay, I think we're back at 50%. How do I... Let's see here. Quick setting maybe? Let's quick set this thing. Come on. Oh, so you can have it turn on and off. You can have it do this. So we're on pump A. Got it. This is why I really like an app, because it's probably going to be easier. So that's kind of on and off. These are the different modes. Like you could have it surge. So you could like, let's try this. Max speed. Let's go 100% on this thing and see what that does with these ramping up and downs. Nothing on B. Yeah, just be done. Oh, well, I don't have a B. I don't have $800. I had 400. Go back. Bueller. Oh, maybe this is saying they're linked. Let's see, does that? No. Just do this. Do this one. That'll be fine. Maybe I gotta go up. Just one. How about just one? B. B's not even working. It's fine. Oh, come on. Let's go. Go home. Aren't you good for your home? See, this is... I can only get 50%. I'm going to try... You can see how much gunk it's just kicking up, though. You can see even down here, it's kicking up that gunk, which is going to be great. I'm going to have to clean these sponge filters like every day for 3 days. Alright, I'm going to play with this. And then I'll show you guys if it does anything cool. Finally, it's been like 25 minutes of reading the manual, going to their YouTube videos that have no voice at all. This is why I don't do apps on our stuff. This has just been such a frustrating experience for a $400 item. Oh, tip. Here's a tip. Transmission successful. To change things on this app is just, you know, so I changed it to 100% finally, and you got to click in, and then you got to click in, and then let's say we want 70%. You click apply, and then you click apply, and then you got to click apply. Oh, here's a tip. It finally did it. And even though it's a Wi-Fi system, you have to connect with Bluetooth, but nothing in the manual, which is 4 pages by the way, or the box say that. It never prompts you in the app to do that. You have to watch the video to put it in a certain mode, to pair it, to give it Wi-Fi access, which is just infuriating to me. So I still haven't figured out, can I put it in a different mode yet? Like, is that this mode? Okay, here we go. So let's try, let's see, pulsing mode. Let's try that. Apply. And apply. Oh yeah, and apply. There we go, okay. So now in theory, it'll start pulsing at 70%. Now, really what that's meant to do, if you have two of them, this one would pulse, and then that one would pulse, and you get the water just rocking back and forth like a reef or something. But in theory, we would see the plants kind of... It kind of... I don't know. I don't think it's actually turning off or doing... So you can see the stuff kind of getting sucked in. I don't know if that setting's doing what we want it to do. This is where you sit and you play for, you know, a random mode, which seems cool, but kind of isn't. There's not that many modes. I thought there'd be more modes, honestly, but maybe when you have two, there's more modes. So if I click apply and apply, actually, let's change this. What? Why is it down to 50% again? It should have been, I had it at 70. Is that like a bug feature? Let's go apply that. So now you can hear it gets a little loud. Not loud, but you can hear it just a little bit when it's at 70%. Now I kind of want to know if you change. If I go here and I change to pulsing mode, hit apply. See, whenever you change a mode, it automatically resets. It seems not like a good feature. But let's go back to constant mode. And let's do 100% again just to see what the full-blown tornado is like. Apply, 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 apply. All right. Full-blown tornado. So the goal is not to create just like one jet where it's like, oh my gosh, kind of like that pump from a filter is, where you can really see it. The whole goal is to get, with these types of things, it would be the whole aquarium flow is moving gradually. And these can blow 10, 15 feet across. And so what it's doing is it's actually getting all the way over to here, and you can see maybe the particles. It hits this side and it lifts up, and it swoops it back. So what this mode is doing is actually getting it to do this really well in a large aquarium. And that's why this plant that was standing tall is actually angled back that way. And hopefully it's going to move ladybird poops and that kind of stuff just from the corner she hangs out in, and it's going to really allow everything to get sucked. You can watch it happen. Stuff getting sucked into the sponge allows me to collect it, allows me to clean it, and since I can't get to the bottom, it's going to help. And so it gives, you know, current for, you know, like that little baby hillstream loach and these guys to swim against. I don't think I'll keep it at 100% because it's a little bit whiny, the motor. I'll put my microphone near it. Maybe it'll be quiet, maybe you can hear it. Kind of that sound. At 50% I didn't hear it, so I'll probably adjust it until I don't hear it anymore. Now, I'll tell you what I'm sad about. So remember when I was talking like, yeah, the app should do all of this perfect stuff. Where is the schedule? Like, where could I have it kick up to 100%? See, already it like wants to default back to 50. Stay at 100. All right, so now you've got the app where you can change the speeds and everything, and I just hate like this system already. Like, this is a clock, and in theory I could program something. Does that do anything? Nope. What if I do that? Does that do anything? That doesn't seem to be doing much. Does this do something? That just tells me what it needs to do. I just hate apps that are like this. Does the eye... Okay, nope. That's just going to tell me what mode we're in. Dang it. Okay, that's not what I want. Return. I really just want to be able to... Can I drag it? Nope. Can I... So that's why I don't do apps. Something like this to develop, it's 20 grand, and then there's maintenance fees, and it's always breaking on different devices, and come on. I literally... I'm going to have to find a video on how someone else has gotten this to work, just so that I could be like, yeah, at 2 o'clock for 10 minutes, let's go 100%. All the other time, you know, let's have it be 50%. When the lights are out, let's have it be 20%. That's all I want to do. Like that's why I make things that don't have apps. I know what most people want, or most people want the same things, and that's ease. And if it just had a setting of like, hey, how about this? How about 20% at night? How about 50% all the other time and 100% for X amount of time? needs to be covered. But instead we can put it on all these different modes, but none of it, yeah, irritating. But I do love the flow, so there's that win. And you guys can be irritated with me. I'll figure it out by the time I film again and hopefully get it all dialed in. For now, I'll go back and set it for like 50-ish% or maybe 30% until I can dial it in. In theory, because it's Wi-Fi, I should be able to do this from inside my house and work on it at a desk with a video and find someone who has decoded the MaxSpect gyre pump software. Until next time, guys, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. And we'll keep making the fish room better one day at a time. Hanging out. Hopefully you guys enjoy hanging out with me. I got to feed all my fish and dose some easy green, and then I'm back in. It's been about 3 hours, so cannot forget that sponge. I'm doing that first. I'm moving that ladder, doing that first, then I'm feeding. And so yeah, you guys got to see what it takes to just keep status quo. I'll see you guys next time.